follow that same policy, given that a major part of his policy platform was to oppose corruption, he would jeopardise his own alliance.
Would he nevertheless be tempted at the moment?
He would be very tempted because it is a way of seizing power. He would have to persuade 30 members. He has already been over to Sabah and Sarawak. Straight after the election he went to Sabah and Sarawak, and just the very fact of him arriving in those states worried the Barisan no end. So by his strategy of talking up the possibility of members crossing the floor, he has really unnerved the governing party.
And if he does manage to form an opposition coalition, just how stable would it be?
That would be very difficult. There have already been a number of quite difficult discussions take place within the 5 states that the opposition alliance has won, or now the People's Alliance as they call it. They have worked out compromises with different parties, the DAP taking the lead in Penang, the Parti Keadilan in Selangor, and the Islamic Party in the other states. They have worked out a working relationship, but to do that at the federal level would be much, much more difficult.
They do all come from very different backgrounds, as you've indicated. What connects them?
They are connected by having been severely marginalised by the ruling party which has for 50 years come to equate itself as government. And Dr. Mahathir really destroyed so many of the independent agencies of government, particularly the judiciary, totally took over the media. They are reacting very strongly against what they see as a redirection of Malaysia in ways that were not to their liking.
Now, the Islamic Party, PAS, has moderated its image recently. Is that a real change or just an attempt to get into power?
I think it's both. It is clearly oriented toward getting into power, but they have nominated a number of women as candidates. They have taken on a number of professionals. It is not just the older established religious teachers who are now elected. And the interesting thing about the number of seats that they won is many of those new, more open members, open-minded members, are now elected to office, and in turn are influencing the direction of the party. This is a dynamic process that's going on.
In Kelantan State in the north, where PAS has strong support, the party has dismantled legislation which favours Malays over the Indian and the Chinese. If PAS joined the opposition with Anwar Ibrahim, would the Malays lose their supremacy in law?
The argument that's been made by Anwar Ibrahim, which was a key part of his policy, is that affirmative action in favour of the Malays has only benefited the really wealthy Malays and has led to extensive corruption. The argument here is that what the policy that fits with Islam and fits through and unites the opposition is to address poverty irrespective of race.
Now, Abdullah Badawi has indicated he'll step down in favour of his deputy, Najib Tun Razak. What sort of character is he?
That it is not a certainty that Najib would take over. Najib is fairly young, he's in his 50s. A number of people in UMNO would see themselves eclipsed from the possibility of taking over leadership. There is a lot of support within the party for Tunku Razali from Kelantan, who challenged Dr. Mahathir, nearly beat Dr. Mahathir in the 1980s. He is 71 years old. Were he to become leader, he would only be a one-term leader. And many of the aspiring leaders within UMNO would feel much more comfortable with somebody like Tunku Razali in charge for the interim rather than Najib. To answer your question, Najib is the son of the second Prime Minister of Malaysia. He's very ambitious. He's been Defence Minister for some time. There have been a number of criticisms of him in that role, particularly to do with the with contracts for purchasing vessels. So he is not without blemish.
Are you saying he would not be acceptable to the country?
He is the Deputy Prime Minister and is in the #1 position to take over as leader were Abdullah Badawi to hand the reins to him, but he would not gain that position uncontested.
So what do you think is likely to happen here?
My sense is that a lot of criticism has come out against the Prime Minister Abdullah Badawi, but in a way he is the Habibi of Malaysia. He is the man who has presided over the change in Malaysia from a personalised authoritarian society to one where change can take place through the ballot box. He may in fact hold on to his position beyond the end of this year, although there is a great deal of pressure building up for him to hand over to a successor. But given what I said about who would be the successor, it may well be that a number of people in the party are quite prepared to compromise on him staying on and being an avuncular leader, but not a Dr. Mahathir.
Former Prime Minister Mahathir continues to snipe from the sidelines. Is that about to change? Is he going to give anyone a go here?
I think it would only be I think he will speak out very much until his last days come. He is a man who has very strong views. He also has a certain bitterness, and those around him have not gained the advantages that they expected to gain under his rulership.
Michael Lee, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.